I liked Ryan for 12 years. I watched him change girlfriends one after another. When everyone thought I could make a philandering man settle down, he blocked me for another girl. More than a month later, he knelt on one knee in the sea of roses and asked if I could give him another chance. I took out a big red wedding invitation from my bag and handed it to him, smiling. I'm getting married next week. I hope you can come. Chapter 1. Ryan sent a message to his childhood friend group. Gather at the old place tonight, there's something to announce. Jason, who has the best relationship with him, joked with him. Oh, so formal, is the philandering man going to settle down? This kind of joke is not the first time. Before this, Ryan would laugh and tell him to get lost. But this time, he only replied, yeah, a light word, but it was like a boulder falling into the water, stirring up thousands of waves. The originally quiet group suddenly exploded. Fuck. Am I seeing it right? The scumbag is on the shore? Our Vivian has finally seen the moon after waiting for the clouds to clear? Let me infer. Ryan has not been in a relationship recently, and he has no ambiguous objects. The heroine must be Vivian. I said this guy is special to Vivian. He never took girls to play before Vivian was taken back. It's no secret that I like Ryan, just like his exception and preference for me, blatant and known to everyone. Ryan didn't say anything, as if he accepted everyone's teasing. Yes, over the years, although he changed girlfriends very quickly, I was always his only bottom line. Anyone would think that my waiting had finally paid off. Chapter 2. He was the last to arrive at the party Ryan arranged. A timid little girl followed behind him. The little girl's white and tender hands tightly grasped the corner of his clothes, and her big eyes scanned the box. There was a lively curiosity in her clarity. Like an innocent little deer that accidentally entered the human territory. It was also very much like me when I was just brought back to the Lin family 12 years ago. The few people who were still laughing and playing seemed to have pressed the power off button at the same time, staring blankly at Ryan pulling someone out from behind and holding him in his arms. Let me introduce you, my girlfriend Lily. When he spoke, his eyes were always on Lily. There was an indissoluble tenderness between his eyebrows. Perhaps feeling the awkward atmosphere, Lily shrank into Ryan's arms and looked a little nervous. Jason was the first to react and laughed exaggeratedly twice. You are hiding it well. When did you get a girlfriend? While speaking, he looked at me frequently. Although he hid it well, I could see his worry at a glance after knowing each other for so many years. In the past few years, Ryan has been wandering around with girls, changing girlfriends every now and then. But he has never formally introduced us to each other. We both know what his move means. Ryan rubbed Lily's hair lovingly and said with a smile, we have been together for more than 2 months. Lily is shy, don't scare her. 12 years ago, it was the same group of people and the same sentence, Vivian is shy, don't scare her. At that time, I had just been taken back to the Lin family, a high-ranking family in the imperial city, from a small village in the south. I was ostracized and laughed at by everyone because of my non-standard Mandarin. It was Ryan who took my hand and brought me into their circle. I was 14 years old that year, and the boy who smiled brightly and helped me dispel all confusion and panic became my light. Chapter 3. Maybe they are closer to Ryan emotionally. But for so many years, whether they like it or not, I am the only girl among them. And I am the one who is believed to have a blossoming relationship with Ryan. For fear that I would feel bad, everyone's reaction was also indifferent. The scene fell into silence for a while. Lily bit her lip, her eyes slightly red. She shook Ryan's arm helplessly, and asked in a crying voice, Ryan, is Lily not welcome? I frowned slightly when I heard her call. I felt a little physically uncomfortable. When Ryan, a teenager, played with me, he often hid behind me and attacked me. He would either snatch something from my hand or pull the leather string that tied my hair up high and force me to call him a brother. He would not return the things to me until my face turned red and I called him a brother, unwillingly. At that time, he was still immature and would be disgusted by other girls' coquettishness. Ryan was about to comfort her when a glass was smashed in the corner. It turned out to be Alex, who always had a bad relationship with me. Alex's handsome face was stern, and his voice was full of anger. Ryan, what the hell have you thought of Vivian for all these years? Ryan's face also sank, and he looked around. Finally, he locked onto me. Then, he opened his thin lips and said, I don't know if you have misunderstood something. I have always only thought of Vivian as a sister. Chapter 4. What a great sentence, you only treat me as your sister. I don't know if he has forgotten that when we got together for the New Year last year, Jason bought firecrackers and asked him to go and set them off. He sat lazily beside me and smiled. No, I want to accompany our Vivian. Someone next to him started to make a noise. When did Vivian become yours? He threw a tangerine over and laughed even more happily. Always. Vivian is my child bride. In just half a year, he could look me straight in the eye and say frankly that I am his sister. I put my hand on my heart and pressed it gently. It hurts and is uncomfortable, but it is not as serious as I imagined. On the contrary, there is also a kind of relief that I finally waited for the result. It's like when I was 14, I sent a novel that I thought was particularly well written to my favorite magazine. But I didn't receive a reply for a long time. Until one day 12 years later, the magazine sent me a reply and told me that my novel was not accepted. I would just calmly think, oh, I know. It turns out that the passion and longing I had at the beginning had long been worn away during the long wait. The same is true for my feelings towards Ryan. It's not that I don't love him anymore, I just don't expect him anymore. So, the result doesn't affect my emotions too much. Chapter 5. Alex wanted to speak up for me again, but I stopped him. He gritted his teeth, rolled his eyes at me, cursed, useless thing, and slammed the door and left. It didn't seem appropriate for me to stay any longer in this situation. So I put on my bag and followed him to leave. As soon as I put my hand on the door handle, Ryan called me, Vivian, come back. I turned around and smiled at him, brother, you guys play first, I'll go see Alex. This was the first time in so many years that I called him brother so happily. But it was obvious that he didn't seem to be happy about it. Ryan was stunned, and then repeated with a gloomy face, come back. This time, I didn't listen to him. When I pushed the door open and walked out, I heard the crackling sound of wine glasses breaking again. The door closed behind me, isolating the noise in the room. Chapter 6. Going to Alex was just an excuse for me to leave. Although he helped me, I still remember clearly what he did to me in school. He hit me with a ball in gym class and secretly cut my braids with scissors in art class. He also hid my textbooks and put caterpillars in my desk. Gratitude is one thing, and I will give appropriate gifts as a thank you. But I can't rush to improve the relationship. I wanted to go home, but as soon as I walked to the door, I saw Alex leaning against the wall smoking. When he saw me coming back, he put out the cigarette and threw it into the trash can. I took Jason's car to come here. Are you going back now? Don't mind giving me a ride. I sighed, but I didn't say no after all. After playing together for 12 years, this is one of the few times I was alone with Alex, and I haven't sent him to the door of his house. He sat there without moving. After a long while, he slowly said, that Lily is very similar to you in the past. But, so what? Even if they are similar, she can't be me, and I can't be her. I don't want to continue this topic, so I simply opened the car door and drove him out. Ignoring his angry shouting, I stepped on the accelerator and turned into the villa next door. Our house is next to Alex's house, and next to it is Ryan's house. Those who can live here are either rich or noble. Chapter 7. Just after I parked the car, Alex called me and asked me to check WeChat. I clicked on it and saw red envelopes flying all over the group. Ryan pulled Lily in, and several people were sending her greeting gifts. I also wrapped a red envelope, and just after sending it successfully, I was kicked out of the group by Ryan the next second. Immediately afterwards, his private message came, sorry Vivian, your presence will make Lily uncomfortable. Let's not contact each other for now. I pursed my lips tightly, and my fingers couldn't stop shaking. After thinking about it, I still replied to him with a, okay. But when the message was sent, I received a striking red exclamation mark. Ryan deleted me. From the green years to the scorching youth, 12 years of knowing and accompanying each other, in the end, they still lost to his love for more than 2 months. I stared at the exclamation mark for a long time. My eyes were sore, but I couldn't shed tears. Ryan used to pat me on the head and say to me with a smile, Vivian, besides my parents, no one in this world is more important than you. Chapter 8. I like Ryan, but I have never been obsessed with him, let alone crossed the line. I have never said or done anything ambiguous to him. Every time I learned that he had a girlfriend, I took the initiative to keep a distance from him. I was afraid that my love would become a burden to him. But often, if I distanced myself from him, he would be dissatisfied. Ryan's first love was with my college roommate. A girl who knew all my feelings for him. Later, the two of them appeared in front of me hand in hand, and the girl smiled brightly. She seemed to have forgotten the girlish thoughts I had shared with her, and thanked me sincerely, Vivian, thank you. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have been able to chase Ryan. It was very windy that day, and I stood upright on the tree-lined path outside the library, feeling like an idiot. At that time, I realized that she had approached me and made friends with me from the beginning just for Ryan. I distanced myself from her and Ryan. As a result, our love lasted only 3 days. The girl cried in the dormitory, and when she had cried enough, she asked me with swollen eyes, Ryan dumped me, are you satisfied now? I felt very confused. I had never done anything, so why did she ask me? But out of politeness, I still answered her, yes, I am satisfied. Chapter 9. That night, Ryan dragged me out for a big meal. He teased me with a playful smile, little ancestor, you haven't paid much attention to me for 3 days. Don't be angry, okay? I explained seriously, I'm not angry, it's just that you are in a relationship, and we should keep a proper distance. This is good for everyone. But, I agreed to try it with her because I saw that you have a good relationship with her. What Vivian likes, I like. What Vivian doesn't like, I don't like either. He said it with confidence. Later, when he fell in love again, he would avoid all girls who had intersections with me. He would not even bring them to us in public. But the upper-class circle in Beijing is not big, but it is not small either. It is common for him to meet acquaintances in places where he takes his girlfriend. So even if he doesn't say it, his love affair will be spread to my ears through others. During the annual gatherings, someone would tease him, "Ryan has so many girlfriends, when will he bring one to meet us guys?" He put the peeled shrimp into the small bowl in front of me and answered nonchalantly, "Not to that extent yet." Several people have added me, some begging and some scolding, all with the purpose of getting me to stay away from Ryan. After so many times, I understood that even if I didn't do anything, as long as I existed, it was an original sin. So Ryan wanted to break up with me for Lily's sake, and I respected his decision. But why did he kick me out? He was not the only one in the group, there were also close friends who had been with me for 12 years. The phone rang one after another. I hung up and replied to them one by one, saying that I was fine and asked them not to worry. When you are on the verge of emotional collapse, you can't stand well-intentioned care. I'm afraid I won't be able to hold back my tears. Chapter 10. More than an hour later, Jason showed up at our house with a face full of bruises. He casually slumped down on the sofa, took the ice pack I handed him and pressed it on the swollen area. "What happened?" I asked. He sighed, "Ryan caused public outrage and was beaten. I went up to break up the fight and got hit a few times." "Me, where are they?" He moved the ice pack to a different position, and maybe he pressed too hard, which made him grimace in pain. After a while, he said, "Send Ryan to the hospital." I pursed my lips and didn't say anything. A few minutes later, Jason asked me cautiously, "Vivian, Ryan was just confused for a moment. We can all see how much that Lily looks like. When he turns around, can you give him another chance?" The sentence he didn't finish should also be how much Lily looks like me in the past. I frowned slightly and didn't answer his question directly. "Jason, I want to go back to see my grandma." Chapter 11. When my mother was pregnant with me, my father's business encountered a change and almost led to bankruptcy. Later, a feng shui master was consulted and the problem was with my mother's belly. The feng shui master said that I was born with bad luck and would affect my father's fortune. But at that time, my mother was more than 9 months pregnant and was close to the due date. Even if she didn't want to give birth, there was no way. So I was sent to my grandmother's house in the south as soon as I was born. My grandmother named me Vivian, saying that I was her only baby. But when I was 14, my grandmother passed away, and I was no longer anyone's baby. I used to think that Ryan was lucky. Even if I was not a baby, I would always be his first choice. This seemed not bad, but reality slapped me hard. Chapter 12. It was the rainy season, and the misty Jiangnan was shrouded in a misty rain curtain. I held a flower umbrella and stepped on the familiar bluestone road. At the end of the road, there was an old 3-story building, which was my home for 14 years. My mother often said that my grandmother was an old stubborn. Even though her daughter married into a wealthy family, she still stubbornly stayed in the countryside, guarding her shabby house. But it was this old stubbornness that gave me the happiest childhood. The rain was not heavy, and there were vendors walking slowly on tricycles, shouting in a loudspeaker, "Yangmei, fresh Yangmei." A woman came out of the small Western-style building next to her with an umbrella and called the vendor. Seeing me on the side of the road, she asked in surprise, "Vivian? Why are you back? It's not even the day of the sacrifice yet." My eyes were red and I tried to force a smile. "I miss home, so I came back to stay for a few days." She glanced at the suitcase I was carrying, and a trace of pity flashed in her eyes. "You kid, why did you come back alone? Your grandma's old house has been uninhabited for a long time, and it has rained these 2 days, so it must be very damp. Why don't you stay at our house first? Your brother Ethan is not at home all year round, and you can just accompany me." After that, she reached out and grabbed my suitcase, took my hand and walked happily towards the small Western-style building behind me. Chapter 13. I was arranged to stay in her son Ethan's room. Watching Aunt Lee busying around, I deeply understood what it meant to be hard to refuse a kind invitation. I said no several times, but she finally asked me with grievance if I thought their house was too shabby, so I compromised. Ethan's room was very clean and simple. The most eye-catching thing was a huge bookcase. Inside, there were various books, models, trophies, and certificates placed in layers. It was in line with his personality from childhood to college. Ethan was 2 years older than me. We were not familiar with each other, but we were not strangers. Apart from the friendship of growing up together, we were also college alumni. He was recommended to a top domestic university, but I took advantage of the local hookup. In the evening, Alex called me. Across the microphone, his voice sounded muffled. "Jason said you went back to the south?" I nodded, and thought that he couldn't see it, so I said, After a long while, I heard him mumble, "Why didn't you tell me? I'll accompany you." After going through the ignorant adolescence, I could guess Alex's feelings for me. I refused without hesitation. "No, you should work hard. Be careful when you are out there. I'll take care of the things I have on hand and pick you up in 2 days. He hung up the phone before I could say anything. Chapter 14. It rained all night, but the next day it cleared up unexpectedly. I wanted to visit my grandmother's grave. I opened the door and bumped into Ethan, who was covered in dust. A breeze blew, mixed with the fragrance of soil. It blew the hem of his shirt. In a few years, he has grown from a young man with a graceful figure to a handsome man. Ethan was slightly startled, and his eyes were filled with emotions, but I couldn't understand them. Long time no see, he said, his voice was as low and pleasant as in my memory. I smiled at him. Long time no see. The owner of the room has returned, so I naturally have no reason to continue living there. I said goodbye to Aunt Lee, and she frowned and thought for a moment. You are a little girl, and I am worried about you living alone. How about this, let Ethan move in with you? I was about to refuse, but Ethan took the lead. Okay. I'll go back with you to clean up later. Under Aunt Lee's eager gaze, I could only nod in agreement. Chapter 15. Although it has been uninhabited for a long time, I pay someone to inspect and repair the house every year. Except for a little more dust, it is not too bad. After cleaning up, I sat on the steps outside the house and began to be in a daze. The sky washed by rain is clear and clean. Large white clouds float on the blue curtain. This kind of scene is rarely seen in Beijing, where the haze is serious. Ethan handed me a bottle of water, and I looked up and smiled at him. Why did you come back suddenly? He also raised the corners of his lips. I was tricked back by my mother. What about you? He asked back. There is no doubt that Ethan is good looking. The warm sunlight sprinkled on his body, as if he had a layer of light gold powder on him. Behind the thin lenses, a pair of beautiful peach blossom eyes narrowed slightly. There is a bit of wildness in the gentleness. I looked away, thought for a while, and chose the most appropriate wording, healing. Chapter 16. The pace of life in the countryside is very slow. I also gradually adapted to the polite and courteous life alone with Ethan. He is a very appropriate roommate. Fearing that I would be bored, he moved a number of extracurricular books for me to pass the time. What's more, he didn't know where he got a puppy. It looked very much like the one my grandmother had raised before. I squatted on the ground and hugged the puppy. The tears that I had endured for so long finally flowed down uncontrollably. Ethan stood silently by the side until I cried enough, then he bent down and rubbed the top of my head. He said, "Did Vivian get wronged?" A very familiar sentence. It evoked many memories that were buried in the long river of time. When I was young, I was often teased by children of the same age in the village as a wild child without parents, and even worse, I was called a bastard. Every time I secretly hid and cried, Ethan could find me. He would gently ask me, "Did Vivian get wronged?" Gradually, fewer and fewer people bullied me. It wasn't until I saw Ethan beat up the boy who threw stones at me in a dead-end alley that I knew the reason. It seemed that I was always close to Ethan before I left here. Why did we become distant later? Chapter 17. A few days later, Jason sent me a short video. In the video, Ryan was holding a bottle of wine, slumped on the ground, and kept calling, "Vivian, Vivian." Lily next to him bit her lower lip tightly, and tears rolled in her eyes. There were 2 messages below the short video. "Vivian, when will you come back? Ryan drank too much and kept asking to see you. Now he is drunk in Yunhai, and we can't do anything about him." Yunhai is the old place Ryan mentioned last time. The top club in Beijing. One of Ryan's family businesses. Ryan rarely drinks, but he inevitably has social events. Every time he drinks too much, I have to pick him up before he is willing to follow me obediently. It is these insignificant little things that have made me like him for 12 years. Isn't it because I can see hope that I can persist for so long? I replied, "Don't tell me about him anymore." Just after I sent the message, Jason called me. I thought about it and picked up the phone. After all, it wasn't his fault, and I had no reason to vent my anger on him. "Hello, Vivian, Ryan hasn't been doing well these past 2 days." Before I finished speaking, there was a noisy shouting, "Ryan, don't move. Don't grab my phone." The next second, Ryan's voice came from the microphone beside my ear, "Hello, hello, hello. Is that Vivian? When are you coming to pick me up? I was in the hospital 2 days ago, and you didn't come to see me. I haven't seen you for a long time." The more he spoke, the smaller his voice became, and he seemed to be choking in the haze. "Vivian, I miss you." I hung up the phone without thinking. Chapter 18. That night, Lily asked to add me as a friend, saying that she had something to show me. I was not interested in what she wanted to show me, but I could not bear her persistence. After adding me for more than 20 times, I agreed. She sent me a picture. On the big bed in the hotel, she had loose black hair, like a seductive fairy. Ryan was lying next to her. "Sister Vivian, Ryan and I know you like him too, but Ryan only has family affection and habit for you. He told me in person that he only loves me. Tonight he was jealous because I talked to other boys, so he drank and came to you. I hope you don't misunderstand." I looked at her long string of words and felt bored. It seems that it is not a big deal to let go of a 12-year relationship. I replied to her calmly, oh, I wish you happiness. Chapter 19. It rained for several days. Ethan likes to make a pot of tea and sit at the table by the window to write and draw. I lie on the sofa with a book in my arms. The puppy he gave me curled up at my feet, quietly. I named it Pudding. Since I cried in front of him last time, my relationship with Ethan has improved a lot. Outside the window, there is the sound of sparse rain. In the room, there is the rustling sound of his pen on the paper. Occasionally, there is the sound of me turning the pages of a book. Inexplicably, it reminds me of a group of words: the present world is stable, and the years are quiet and good. A quick knock on the door broke the silence of the room. Outside the door, Ethan's father looked anxious. Ethan, your mother just fainted, go back and see her. Ethan paused, hesitated for a moment, stood up and ran out. I also hurriedly put on my heels. Aunt Lee has always taken good care of us. When Grandma was alive, she helped us a lot. During this period, she sent us some homemade food every now and then. Aunt Lee was lying on the bed, and her expression did not seem to be very abnormal. Ethan frowned and asked, Mom, how are you? Do you want to go to the hospital? She glanced at me following behind her and sighed, I didn't intend to tell you. After that, she fumbled under the pillow and took out a piece of paper and handed it to Ethan. I don't have much time left. My biggest wish is to see you get married in my lifetime. On the paper, it was written that it was terminal cancer. Ethan's brows were frowned deeper and deeper. He was silent for a long time before he said, it may be a misdiagnosis. Go check it out again in 2 days. Chapter 20. Having said that, Ethan became more and more silent day by day. When we were young, he found me when I was hiding and crying, and now it's my turn to find him when he was hiding and smoking. When he saw me, he put out his cigarette and fanned the air in front of him with his hands. I sat down next to him and accompanied him in a daze. June was coming to an end and the weather was getting sultry. He looked up at the sky and said slowly, I came back this time because my mother said she was sick. When I got home, she sent me away with a joke. I thought she was lying to me. I didn't know how to comfort him, so I could only remain silent. He hesitated for a while and spoke carefully, Vivian, I don't want her to regret it. So, can you help me? I nodded quickly, just tell me if there is anything I can help with. Ethan turned his head and looked directly into my eyes, with a determination to burn his boats. He said, marry me. I can sign a prenuptial agreement with you. I have recently applied for a patent for my research project, and I should have a lot of money by then. When we divorce, if you want, I can give it all to you. Of course, yours is still yours. You can add your requirements and conditions to the agreement. Marriage is not a trivial matter. I don't want to agree, but Aunt Lee is so good to me. Can you let me think about it? He forced a bitter smile and said with guilt, I'm sorry Vivian, I'm embarrassed for you. Chapter 21. At night, when I was lying in bed and struggling whether to agree or not, Jason called again, Vivian, come back soon. Alex and Ryan are fighting. I was quite helpless. Fighting again? Jason's voice was a little deeper, if only it were that simple. Alex has poached 3 clients from Ryan in a row. The profit point offered is ridiculously low. It is completely hurting the enemy by 1,000 and hurting oneself by 800. Now both parties are in a mess. Vivian, do you know that before you came back, the 2 of them had the best relationship? Later, you came back, and they gradually began to have a gap because of you. Maybe you didn't realize that Alex. He likes you. It turned out that Alex's love for me was clearly seen by the eyes of bystanders, but I had no way to respond to his feelings. Not to mention what he did to me when he was young, he knew me and Ryan too well. For so many years, he has been watching the entanglement between Ryan and me. If he and I had any feelings beyond friendship, it would be a thorn in his heart. Chapter 22. One is a terminally ill elder, and the other is a childhood friend who is crazy about me. It seems that it is not difficult to decide. I took the initiative to contact Alex for the first time. I could tell how happy he was the moment he answered the phone. He said, I should have picked you up 2 days ago, but something happened. I interrupted him, I heard everything. Alex, don't go on. I hope you are all well. Your relationship with Ryan for so many years should not be so strained because of me. Also, I called you to tell you that I am getting married. He paused, and then spoke again with a hoarse voice. With whom? I answered, a brother who grew up here with me and is also my senior in college. He is very outstanding and treats me very well. Thinking about the days I spent alone with Ethan, it would be nice if we could live together in a respectful way after we get married. The next day, Ethan had already prepared breakfast. I'll go back with you to see Auntie later. I said. He put an omelet in my bowl and said yes in a gentle voice. I continued, by the way, discuss the marriage with them. With a pop, the omelet that Ethan was about to put in his bowl fell onto the table. Chapter 23. Before I was 14, my parents were strangers who only appeared during festivals. After I was 14, they were family members who only asked me if I had enough money. Do they love me? They should love me. It's just that the 14-year emotional gap made them not know how to get close to me. Every time I see my mother interacting intimately with my brother who is 5 years younger than me, I will comfort myself like this. When my mother on the other end of the phone learned that I was going to get married, she only asked about the man's conditions and agreed. Ryan and I are a recognized couple in the upper-class circle, but he is now making a big fuss for his little girlfriend, even at the cost of contradicting his parents. For a while, I became a laughing stock. Now there is a young talent with good conditions to take over. I think they should be eager for me to get married soon. The wedding was scheduled for more than a month later. I originally wanted to keep everything simple, but Ethan disagreed. He said that although he couldn't give me a luxurious wedding, I also wanted to have what other brides had. Even if our marriage is an agreement. Chapter 24. After returning from Ethan's house, a blue Bugatti stopped at the door of the small building. Alex got out of the car. His handsome face with clear outlines was full of fatigue. Even his chin had a short stubble. He looked at Ethan beside me and said to me, "Is he the one you want to marry?" I nodded, and Alex's face darkened a little. "Vivian, let's talk." Ethan left the space for us. Alex looked at his back as he left, and said in a lonely voice, "Why him?" I tilted my head and thought for a moment, and replied, "Maybe he just showed up at the right time." "Why him?" "Because Ethan needs this marriage so that his mother will not have any regrets, and I also need this marriage to fulfill him and to cut off Alex's thoughts." Alex suddenly became very excited. He turned around and grabbed my shoulders, his brown eyes filled with pain. "I don't believe you would fall in love with someone else in such a short time. If it was because Ryan hurt you, you could also choose me. You know I like you." I looked at him calmly. "Alex, we are not suitable. From the beginning, our ending was doomed." "Not suitable? What about him? Is he suitable?" I was slightly startled, and the scenes of getting along with Ethan these days emerged in my mind. Being with him is very plain but also stable. Ethan doesn't talk much, but every morning when I wake up, the breakfast he made for me is already on the table. He wears an apron that is very inconsistent with his temperament, and smiles and asks me to wash my hands and eat. The little pudding wags its tail and circles around him. One person and one dog constitute the long-lasting fireworks of the world. I replied to him with certainty, "Well, he is very suitable." Chapter 25. After Alex left, I started to get busy. The wedding date was urgent, and there were many things to prepare. Jason would still send me messages every now and then. Without exception, they were all about Ryan. He said that Ryan was drunk and Lily had plotted against him, and Lily forced him to take responsibility. The incident was a big deal and even made the news. I have to say that Lily, who seemed innocent, still had some tricks. She was used to pretending to be pitiful, and public opinion was overwhelmingly in her favor. Ryan basically got drunk every day, and when he was drunk, he yelled and shouted for me. I didn't reply. These have nothing to do with me. In fact, Ryan has added me many times during this period, but I didn't agree. He also called me from different numbers, and I blocked them all. Since he kicked me out for Lily, we couldn't even be friends. Chapter 26. Goodbye Ryan. It was more than a month later. Jason sent me a message saying that he was in the county and asked me to meet him on the busiest commercial street. Before leaving, I took a stack of invitations and stuffed them into my bag, hoping that he would help me take them back and share them. Today, the flower beds on both sides of the pedestrian street were filled with big red roses, with ribbons and balloons tied on them. Two little girls passed by and chattered about it. "Wow, which rich young man is going to propose? It's too romantic. I heard that there is a large sea of roses in front. They are all airlifted. Someone saw a small plane this morning. So rich. Let's go and see it quickly." The crowd surged, all heading in the direction where Jason asked me to meet. I frowned and vaguely guessed something. 2 days ago, Jason just told me that Ryan gave Lily a breakup fee of $5 million. Lily saw that there was no hope of marrying into a wealthy family, so she took the money and left. I held onto the strap of my backpack and followed the crowd forward. Chapter 27. The place filled with roses was, as expected, the main intersection next to the cafe where we had an appointment. It was already crowded with people. From time to time, little girls exclaimed, "The boy holding the flowers in the middle is so handsome. The ones next to him are so handsome. I like the one on the far right. He seems a little lonely. So special." Jason was standing outside the crowd. When he saw me running over excitedly, he pulled me up and squeezed into the crowd. Make way, make way. Our heroine is here." Soon, the crowd automatically made way. At the end of the road, Ryan, who was nervous and expectant, stood with a large bunch of julienne in his arms. Jason let go of my hand and pushed me in front of him with a smile. "Vivian." Ryan called me, and a blush appeared on his handsome face. He bent his right leg and slowly knelt down amid the crowd's cheers. Behind me, all my childhood friends had happy smiles on their faces. Only Alex was leaning lazily against the wall with his arms folded, looking like he was watching a show. When he saw me, his eyes flickered and he looked away. Ryan coughed lightly and handed the flowers to me. Vivian, I'm sorry. I know what I did some time ago was a jerk. After you left, I realized that you are much more important to me than I thought. Can you give me another chance? Let me make up for the mistakes I made. I raised the corners of my lips slightly, opened my bag, took out an invitation and handed it to him. I'm getting married next week, I hope you can come. Chapter 28. Ryan froze, the expensive rose in his hand fell to the ground, and the petals splashed. He stammered, Vivian, don't, stop joking, this is not funny. I walked around him and distributed the invitations to the others who were also stunned. Remember to attend my wedding. Ryan stood up suddenly, rushed forward and snatched all the invitations I had just distributed, tore them up and threw them on the ground. He glared at me with red eyes. Vivian, I just said. This joke is not funny. I didn't expect that the angry Ryan would be so extreme. He tore up all the invitations in my bag and grabbed my arm to leave. Just 2 steps away, a fist swung from behind and hit him in the face. He wiped the corner of his mouth, let go of me, turned his head and wrestled with Alex who had just punched. Chapter 29. Because of fighting, we were invited to the police station. More than an hour later, Ethan rushed to the police station to pick up people. He pulled me around and looked around, and was relieved to make sure that I was not injured. In the future, when others fight, you should stand farther away. What if you get hurt by accident? He frowned and said seriously. Suddenly I remembered that when I was a child, he found me hiding and crying secretly, and took me to pick wild dates to make me happy. He raised the pole and smiled at me. Brother will pick dates for you, you stand farther away, don't hurt yourself. Behind him, Ryan said uncertainly, Ethan? At the freshman party, Ryan didn't like Ethan because I called him Brother Ethan. Later, the two were often compared because of their outstanding appearance, and Ethan often won. Ryan disliked him even more. Ethan pursed his lips and looked indifferent. Yeah, it can be seen that he doesn't seem to like Ryan either. Ryan clenched his hands at his side and asked hoarsely, You are the one who is going to marry Vivian? Ethan raised his hand to push his glasses and still answered yes, coldly. He didn't continue to talk nonsense with him, lowered his head and asked me gently if I could leave. After getting a positive answer, he said hello to others and accompanied me out of the police station. Ryan wanted to rush over, but was stopped by others quickly. Chapter 30. 2 days later, Ryan bought the house next door. The limited edition Koenigsegg parked in front of the dilapidated building looked out of place. He would squat in front of me every day, begging me to give him another chance. I was annoyed by him, and scolded him with a stern face, I'm getting married soon, please don't bother me anymore. He bit his lip tightly, and his eyes turned red instantly. After a few minutes, he slowly squatted down, holding his head and began to sob. Vivian, I know I was wrong. Can you give me another chance? I beg you. You obviously don't love Ethan, why do you want to marry him? Please, Vivian, please, don't be so cruel. I watched him squat on the ground and sob, without a ripple in my heart. It turns out that if you don't love, there is no so-called heartache. Chapter 31. The wedding was held as scheduled. My mother came back a day early to see me off. She looked at me wearing the wedding dress, and the corners of her eyes turned red unconsciously. She hugged me for the first time in 26 years. Vivian, I'm sorry, I'm not a good mother. Live a good life after marriage. Mom doesn't ask you to be rich, but only hope that you can be safe. It turned out that the reason why she agreed to me so readily was not because she thought I was embarrassing. It turned out that she really loved me. My throat was sore and swollen. I hugged her back gently and choked up and said yes. Outside the door, the wedding cars were lined up in a long row. Before getting in the car, I saw Ryan standing outside the door. He was wearing a brand new suit and smiled at me. I ignored him and lowered my head to get into the car. If I knew he would die in the fire that night, I don't know what decision I would make. Ryan died in an inexplicable fire. The wedding here will have a big banquet and invite neighbors. So, no one saw the fire. By the time they found out, it was too late. I stood there for a long time after receiving the news. After coming to my senses, I ran like crazy in the direction of the thick smoke. After more than 10 years of friendship, even if I didn't love him anymore, I couldn't be indifferent to his death. But no matter how fast I ran, I couldn't save his life. Chapter 32. My marriage with Ethan was plain and ordinary. After all, it was an agreed marriage, and we were husband and wife in name only, not in reality. Just as we said before marriage, he gave me the greatest respect. Half a year after Ryan passed away, I went back to take care of Aunt Lee. Maybe her wish came true, she looked in good health. Ethan's patent was approved and has been put into production. He has been busy with work during this period. I was arranged to stay in his room again at night. When I was sleeping, my earrings accidentally fell off and rolled under the bed. I reached out to get it, but I got out a diary. Out of curiosity, I opened it. It recorded Ethan's secret love for me. I turned the pages one by one until the last page, where he wrote, My mother's cancer diagnosis report was fake, and I always knew she was lying to me. But I decided to play this drama with her. This might be my only chance. I looked at those vigorous and powerful words, and my mind was in chaos. My marriage was actually a scam from the beginning. The funny thing is, I initially thought it would be okay to live an ordinary life like this. Chapter 33. Ethan and I filed for divorce. In just a few months, I experienced the death of a loved one and the separation of a loved one. After everything was over, I packed my backpack and set off on a journey. The world is so big, and I don't want to be confined to this small world anymore. Chapter 34. 3 years later, Jason got married. I met Ethan, who was returning from a business trip at the busy Beijing airport. He smiled at me in the crowd. Vivian, long time no see. Ryan's chapter. The first time I met Vivian was in the early winter when I was 14 years old. It had just snowed 2 days before in Beijing, and it was chilly. She got out of Uncle Lin's car, wearing a thin black dress. My mother told me that Uncle Lin's mother-in-law had passed away, and their daughter, who was raised in the South and was the same age as me, was going to be brought back. It should be her. The cold wind blew, and she shivered with cold. From my angle, I could just see her red and swollen eyes. She also saw me, and when I smiled at her, she quickly lowered her head and looked at her toes, timidly. It was completely different from those spoiled young ladies around me. How to describe it? Like a lost deer. For the first time, I wanted to take the initiative to approach a girl. Hello, my name is Ryan. She slowly raised her head and whispered, hello, my name is Vivian. Her voice was gentle, with the unique Wu dialect of the southern water town, soft and well-behaved, and very nice to hear. Vivian likes me, I know it very well. But I don't know how I feel about her. I know her too well. They say that distance makes beauty. Vivian and I have never been apart for a day since we first met. We went to the same junior high school, and later entered the same university. The long years made me blur my feelings for her. In college, her friend confessed to me. From childhood to adulthood, many girls have confessed to me, but I have never paid attention to them. Their voices are coquettish, not as good as Vivian's, but I accepted her friend's confession. I think I should like what Vivian likes. But Vivian ignored me since then. I was very upset. Didn't she really like that girl? Girls' feelings are really strange. Later, I often changed girlfriends, but I would hide it from Vivian. I was afraid that she would ignore me again. Those girls were either lively or charming, they were all very different from Vivian. My Vivian has always been gentle and quiet. As for why we talked so much, I just wanted to see if there were other types of people who were as likable as Vivian. It turns out that there weren't any. Until I met Lily, she aroused all my desire to protect her. Lily would stare at me with a pair of innocent and timid eyes, and call me Ryan obediently. I really like hearing Vivian call me brother. When she calls me brother, the ending tone rises slightly, as if with a little hook, which is very tempting. But she rarely calls me brother. Unless I push her to the limit, she will call me brother unwillingly. So when I heard him call Ethan brother, I was angry for several days. To me, Lily is like Ryan, who is 26 years old, meeting Vivian, who is 14 years old. I realized this only after I lost Vivian. Yes, that's right, I lost Vivian. She left behind Alex, calling me brother for the first time, and leaving without looking back for the first time when I asked her to stay. I was so angry that I smashed everything I could in the box, and even dragged Lily into our group. Even more, I kicked Vivian out of the group. Then I lost her. During the 2 days I was lying in the hospital, I often stared at the door, afraid that Vivian would appear. But she never showed up. You know, before, she would feel distressed for a long time if I scratched her skin a little. At that time, I didn't realize the seriousness of the problem, and my pride didn't allow me to bow my head first. I miss her very much. This is the first time we have been apart in 12 years. It turns out that it is so uncomfortable when she is not around. I can't stand it, so I dragged them to drink with me. I naively thought that she would come to pick me up when I was drunk. After all, it was like this before. In the end, she still didn't show up. Yes, Jason said that she went to the south. How could she suddenly show up? I miss her and want to find her. I want to tell her, Vivian, I like you. When I woke up, Lily was sitting next to me crying. She said that I ruined her innocence and must take responsibility. But I was just drunk, not stupid, and I knew whether I did anything or not. As early as 2 days ago, I broke up with her. It's just that I didn't tell them about this. I didn't expect them to call Lily after I got drunk, and I didn't expect Lily to plot against me. I didn't want to pay attention to her at first, but I didn't expect her to seek sympathy online. I needed to clean up the mess she had made, and Alex started to steal my clients in a suicidal way. I could only postpone the time to go to her. When I settled everything and ran to beg her to give me another chance, I was told that she was getting married. It hurt so much that I felt like I was suffocating. Was it one wrong step after another? I bought the house next door to her at a high price, and blocked her every day, begging her to give me another chance. But no matter how I tried to keep her, she never turned back. On the wedding day, I stood at the door and watched her get into someone else's wedding car in a white wedding dress. My Vivian is so beautiful, she should have been my bride. As the wedding car drove away, I covered my chest and curled up on the ground. Losing her really hurts, the pain is unbearable. I didn't attend her wedding because I was afraid I couldn't control myself and did something out of the ordinary. She would blame me then. At night, I lay in bed tossing and turning, thinking that she should be in the bridal chamber now. My heart felt like it was being eaten by ants, and it was painful and numb. Somehow, I got up and took nearly a bottle of melatonin. When I was fuzzy, I felt a red light in front of my eyes and my whole body was burning. But no matter how hard I struggled, I couldn't get up. It seems that the cigarette I smoked before going to bed was not completely extinguished. Well, isn't it said that the living can never win against the dead? Vivian, will you remember me forever? Vivian, I haven't told you yet, I love you. Ethan's chapter. When did I fall in love with Vivian? It seemed to be the graceful dance she performed on the stage at the university welcome party. Her red skirt swayed, and she was full of charm. The silent, crybaby who always followed me in my memory has grown into a graceful young lady in the years when I was not involved. After her performance, I went backstage. I wanted to catch up with her, but before I could get close, I saw a very handsome boy coming over. He smiled and ruffled her hair, his voice full of pampering. Our Vivian is stunning today, and she must have charmed a lot of people. She rubbed against his palm, like a docile cat. Her big eyes were full of stars. At one glance, I knew that she liked that boy. I wanted to turn around and leave, but she saw me. Brother Ethan? She called me, with a bit of uncertainty in her charming and sweet voice. After she called me, the boy's face became visibly ugly. He pinched the soft flesh on her cheek with a bit of jealousy and shook it gently. Vivian, you are really great. It's so hard to get you to call me brother, but now you call someone else in front of me. The words he said seemed to be teasing, but the eyes looking at me were full of hostility. Her love is mutual. After coming to this conclusion, I should be happy for her, but I couldn't help feeling sour in my heart. Later, I learned that the boy was with her in the years after she left. Oh, the boy's name is Ryan, and he is quite famous. It is said that he is a top rich second generation. I heard from my mother that Vivian's father is also very rich. It is a beautiful story that the young master and young lady of a rich family have a crush on each other and finally get married. More than 4 years of gap are enough to make us strangers. The campus is very large, and it is difficult to meet by chance. But it is not difficult to get news about her. Students with a good family and outstanding looks will always be paid special attention. Her photos can be seen everywhere on the campus network and confession wall. But most of the time, Ryan is by her side. In the photos, she always smiles softly. Warm and comfortable. When she looks at Ryan, her eyes are always filled with a bay of autumn water. I have to admit that now she is full of temperament and confidence in every move. From her enrollment to my graduation, we did not have much interaction. I always watched from afar, as a secret admirer. Liking is not possession. Seeing her happy, I also. Forget it. I am not very happy. When I received a call from my mother, I was finishing a series of data. On the other end of the phone, her voice sounded very excited. Son, can you come back now? I'm sick. She didn't know that every time she had a physical examination report, it would be sent to my mobile phone at the first time. When I was about to expose her, she told me that Vivian was back and was living in my room now. She also emphasized that Vivian seemed to be in a bad mood. I pondered for a moment and told her that I would go back immediately. The patent application has been approved, and now I just have to wait for the certificate to be issued. After investing in the market, the income should be enough to match hers. I packed up simply and rushed back to the small town where I was born and raised that day. Seeing the girl I had been thinking about standing in front of me was like a beautiful dream. I knew my mother wanted to bring us together. After all, I was already 28 years old, but I had never had a girlfriend. I could understand her anxiety, but I didn't expect her to do such a cruel thing and directly arranged a terminal illness for herself. I hesitated for a long time and finally decided to play this drama with her. I know that this is a bit despicable, so let me make it up to her for the rest of my life. When you give in and do your best, but the other party doesn't know how to cherish it, love can also be plunder. But I forgot that the feelings that are cheated will not last long after all.